Okay, let's unpack this. A lot of you listening are probably already pretty savvy with financial concepts, maybe even putting some into practice. But today, we're going deeper. We're looking at something really foundational that might challenge even those ideas you hold. The psychology of wealth accumulation. We're moving way beyond just, work harder. We want to uncover the surprising, often hidden psychological stuff that really shapes our financial lives. Our insights for this deep dive, they come from an amazing source, thousands of books, hundreds of seminars, decades of a personal journey from someone who, well, started with nothing and built significant wealth. Our mission here is simple: give you a shortcut, make you really well informed about the deeper game of building actual lasting wealth.
And what's fascinating here really is that this isn't just about the what, the strategies, the tactics, it's about the why. So many people chase external things, right? New investments, budgeting apps. But our sources point to something pretty staggering. 80% of accumulating wealth, it's psychological, purely internal. Think about maybe an entrepreneur, super innovative ideas, works incredibly hard, but keeps hitting this invisible ceiling. Their external game might be strong, but maybe there's an unconscious belief about whether they deserve wealth or even a hidden fear of what success might bring. That's that 80% in action. It's this unseen force kind of dictating the numbers you see in your bank account. It's about connecting those dots, between mindset and material success. And understanding where you are right now financially, well, often it's a direct printout of these ingrained patterns and beliefs you've picked up.
That's a really powerful way to frame it. And it points to a fundamental misunderstanding, I think, that most of us have. To really get wealth, we first need to rethink what money is. Most people, you ask them, they picture, what, a $20 bill, numbers on a screen. But the core idea in our sources says that's almost, well, a bit of a distraction. So how do our sources define money? And what does that mean for us day to day?
Yeah, it's a pretty radical reframing. Money, at its absolute base level, is your life energy. Simple as that. It's your time, your effort, mental and physical. It's your actual being poured out. Think of it like an hourglass, Once you flip it, the sand's always running out. That phrase we use, killing time. It suddenly sounds much more literal, almost chilling, doesn't it? You are, quite literally, killing your life energy when you waste time. And this isn't just some philosophical idea. It completely changes how you look at every single transaction, every dollar, every pound you spend. It represents a piece of your irreplaceable life. Suddenly, deciding whether to buy that coffee feels, well, heavier than just a few bucks.
Wow, yeah. That hits differently? A $5 coffee isn't just $5. It's 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes of your actual life energy gone.
Exactly. And when you zoom out, look at the bigger picture, it gets even clearer. That physical $20 bill. Or the digits in your online banking. Our sources argue that's just a representation of money. And now with digital currencies coming, these CBDCs, central bank digital currencies that governments are looking into, we're potentially moving even further away. A representation of a representation of a representation, you see?
Wow.
The further you get from the source, your life energy, the value you create, the fuzzier the connection becomes. And the danger there is huge. How can you possibly accumulate something if you don't even really grasp what it is? So this changes the whole game. True wealth isn't just money in the bank. Those numbers can disappear, right? Inflation crashes. Real wealth is something more fundamental, more stable. It's tied to the value you genuinely create and how consciously you choose to spend that life energy.
Okay, speaking of these deep-seated things, these unconscious programs, let's talk about the financial thermostat. That's such a powerful concept from the sources.
Yeah.
Can you unpack that? How does this unconscious setting work? And how did the person behind these insights figure out it was impacting his income so much?
It's a really illuminating concept, yeah. Imagine everyone has this sort of unconscious setting, right? A level of money they're comfortable earning or having, like an internal dial, setting your financial comfort zone. Our source shares this really personal story. Initially, he was convinced hard work was everything. Just put in the hours, success follows. But he realized, despite busting his gut, it was this psychology of money, this inner thermostat, that was actually capping his income. It just kept pulling him back to a certain level, almost like an invisible fence. Opportunities might get diverted, or he'd unconsciously sabotage things when he got close to breaking through that set point. So maybe take a second right now, just reflect. What amount, what monetary level does your thermostat seem to be set at? Just pause and think about that number.
But that sounds a bit fixed, doesn't it? If it's set, are we stuck? Or can we actually change that setting?
Oh, that's the crucial part. Thankfully, no, it's absolutely not fixed. It's definitely mutable. So the next logical question is, where does the setting even come from? Well, it's largely programmed into us. It's a direct result of your upbringing, your environment, the role models you saw, the belief systems you just absorbed, often without even realizing it. There's a really potent idea in the sources. Many of us were essentially born wealthy, but programmed to be poor, meaning we have the potential, but the programming holds us back. And here's a key insight. Where you are right now financially, it's probably not your fault unless you've knowingly made terrible choices. Mostly it's a product of that past programming. Think about something concrete, like taxes. That can show how this thermostat works subtly. Our sources mention examples like maybe a soldier gets offered a promotion. Great, right? More responsibility, more pay. But maybe that bump pushes them from, say, a 20% tax bracket to a 40% bracket. Subconsciously, even if they'd still take home significantly more money overall, that higher percentage can feel like a deterrent. It can trigger that thermostat, making them hesitate or even turn down the opportunity, keeping them in their financial comfort zone, even if that zone is way below their actual potential.
That's a brilliant illustration. It shows just how deep this programming runs. And a massive part of that programming is the limiting beliefs we carry about money itself. What are some common ones the sources point out, and what's the actual truth behind them?
Oh, yeah. We inherit or soak up beliefs that actively sabotage wealth building all the time. Things like, money is the root of all evil. That's a big one, but it's a misquote, right? It's the love of money, the worship of it. That's the issue, not money itself as a tool. And then there are others, like, I don't deserve to be rich, or money only comes to greedy, dishonest people, or money corrupts, or even, you can't be spiritual and have money. It's really worth asking yourself honestly, do any of those sound familiar? Do they resonate somewhere deep down? And if they do, try to trace them back. Where might they have come from? Childhood stuff, things your parents said or how they acted, role models. There's this striking story about a CEO client making millions, literally millions a year, but they spent almost every penny.
Wow.
Yeah. And when they dug into it, it came down to this deeply buried belief from childhood that bankers were greedy and shouldn't hoard money. So even with this massive income, the subconscious programming was running the show, making sure the money didn't stick around. It just shows how powerful those roots are.
Yeah. That's such a clear example of that fruit tree analogy you mentioned. The result, the rotten fruit, is a depleted savings. But the cause is way down in those hidden roots, those beliefs.
Exactly. And the really empowering part is we can change those roots. We can reframe those beliefs. The sources give a pretty practical 4-step exercise for this. First, acknowledge. Just write down all the negative beliefs you have about money. Everything. Don't judge. Just get them out on paper. Second, challenge them. Look at them like an adult, objectively. Are they actually true? Like that belief there isn't enough money to go around. Well, is that really true when you see people like Bezos or Musk literally creating vast new wealth, not just shuffling existing money? It kind of falls apart under scrutiny. Third, practice gratitude. Genuinely feel and express gratitude for what you do have right now, even if it feels small. This builds positivity. It compounds. It's like that old saying, to he who has, more will be given. Gratitude attracts more to be grateful for. And finally, fourth, set financial goals. Start small, achievable goals. When you hit them, you get this little rush of confidence, happiness, those positive brain chemicals. It starts reprogramming your mind for success. It all comes back to that fruit tree, right? You can't just polish the rotten fruit, the results. You've got to fix the roots, the beliefs, the thoughts, the actions. That's where lasting change happens.
Right. Changing the roots, the internal stuff, that naturally leads to changing your actions. Because, like the sources say, thoughts without action, they're just wishes, aren't they?
Yeah.
So let's shift to strategy. Building wealth strategically. Moving from wishing to doing. It's about working smarter, not just harder. And the sources offer some really practical, actionable things here. First up is mindful spending. What does that actually look like day to day?
Yeah, it's a great little system. It's about discipline without feeling deprived. The sources suggest this kind of two-tier thing. For small buys, say under 20 bucks, or maybe 10 quid if you're in the UK, don't sweat it, just enjoy it. But for medium-sized purchases, maybe $50 to $100, give it some breathing room. Wait a week, maybe 2. Shop around, get 3 to 5 quotes if it's something you can compare. The key thing here isn't just saving a few dollars. It's about cultivating intentionality. Our sources found that this small shift in how you approach spending builds significant mental confidence, way beyond just the cash saved. It teaches you to value your life energy more consciously.
That makes total sense. It's about being deliberate. Okay, building on that, the next layer is this 5-part percentage system for allocating your net income. Let's break that down because it sounds like a real game changer.
Absolutely. This system aims to create real clarity and structure for your money after tax. First, 50% goes to your essential expenses. But here's the kicker. The goal is to actively work on reducing that percentage over time. Maybe you start at 90%, but you aim to get it down towards 50%. That frees up so much room.
Okay.
Then a really crucial 20% is earmarked for savings, specifically for investment or paying down debt. And the rule is always attack the highest interest rate debt first, because as the sources bluntly put it, the debtor is slave to the lender. Getting out from under high interest debt is financial liberation.
Right.
Next, 10% for education and personal development. This is an investment in you. Nobody can take it away. And the returns compound massively down the line, often in unexpected ways. Then the last two chunks are 10% for leisure. You've got to enjoy life and recharge, and 10% for charity or giving back. This cultivates an abundance mindset, the feeling that there's enough to share.
I like that balance. It covers all the bases. Now, beyond managing spending and saving, the sources talk about the gold standard of making money. Passive income. Can you give us some examples of how that works and the role of leverage?
Passive income. Yeah, that's the dream for many, isn't it? It's about creating an asset once that keeps generating income without needing your constant time and effort. The course we're actually drawing these insights from, that's a perfect example for the speaker himself. He poured hundreds, maybe even 1,000 hours into creating it one time. But now it generates income passively, month after month. That frees up his time, his life energy. This ties directly into the power of leverage, especially with digital assets. Think about Larry Ellison building Oracle, software that scales almost infinitely with minimal extra cost per user. Or one of the clients mentioned in the sources developed software for travel agencies, created it once, now makes tens of thousands daily just from tiny transaction fees globally. It is. These are assets created once that can reach the whole world, generating income while you sleep. It's the ultimate example of working smarter, leveraging technology, and aligning what you create with real needs on a massive scale.
That's the power of scalability right there.
Yeah.
And connecting this all back to what the market actually needs, the ultimate business strategy the sources push is simple. Solve problems. How do they illustrate that?
They frame it really simply and powerfully. Genuine business opportunities pop up wherever there are challenges that exist in the marketplace that haven't been solved. There's this amazing anecdote about someone who became an empty homes officer. They noticed a huge problem councils had. Thousands of vacant houses just sitting there, often becoming rundown, costing money, a real liability. This person didn't have specific property qualifications or anything. They just saw the problem and offered a solution to connect these empty properties with people who needed housing. Essentially, they created a property arbitrage business from scratch, solving a massive headache for the local authorities and generating significant wealth by bridging that gap. They just solved the problem.
What a great story. Seeing opportunity where everyone else just saw empty houses. But thinking like that, solving problems strategically, that takes a certain mindset, doesn't it? Which brings us back to continuous self-development.
Absolutely. And a really key piece of advice here, something the sources stress again and again, is patience. You don't develop that kind of strategic thinking overnight. Impatience is dangerous. It's what often leads people chasing those get-rich-quick schemes. And sadly, even the speaker we're drawing from admitted losing money in a pyramid scheme early on because of that impatience.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Real sustainable wealth. It's usually built diligently, ethically, over time by consistently creating value. And when it comes to obstacles, embracing them is key. The sources suggest reframing problems as challenges. Just changing the word makes them sound more like exciting puzzles to solve rather than roadblocks. The speaker's own experience renovating a castle, for instance. It was apparently riddled with issues, unexpected structural nightmares, budgets blowing out. But each problem became a challenge, an opportunity to find a creative solution, add unique value, and ultimately significantly increase the wealth tied up in that whole project.
Okay, so how do we actually cultivate that mindset, that ability to keep growing, to see challenges, not problems? This whole journey really highlights the power of self-development.
It's absolutely fundamental. Boils down to continuous learning and being really mindful about your influences. Our source talks about his own history attending over 300 seminars, reading thousands of books. He calls books modern-day technology for downloading condensed knowledge. Seriously, the fastest way to absorb decades of someone else's experience? Communication skills, too. Huge emphasis on that. Joining a Toastmasters club, for example, he said it helped him go from being, in his own words, abrupt and obnoxious to confident speaking on camera. And let's face it, we're all in sales on some level, right? Selling ideas, persuading, communicating value, it's vital in almost any field. And there's also that crucial lesson about valuing your own life energy above what other people think. He shared this quite embarrassing story, he called it, about taking a temporary job delivering sofas and having this sudden realization that he was living his life based on avoiding others' potential disapproval rather than aligning his actions with his own core values and goals. That was a big turning point.
That sofa story really hits home, the importance of self-worth in all of this. And just for pure inspiration about what's possible when you change that internal stuff, that Murray Alexander case study is incredible. Tell us about him.
Oh, Murray Alexander's story is just, wow. It's such a powerful example of resilience and what a transformed mindset can achieve. This is someone who went from being homeless on the streets of London, dealing with serious health issues, to becoming a multimillionaire cocktail consultant, all within about 7 or 8 years. His journey just proves that your starting point doesn't define your destination. No obstacle is too big if you commit to that self-development path and just relentlessly go after your goals.
Truly amazing. But okay, we live in a world drowning in information. How do we best channel that self-development drive? How do we find the right support?
That is such a critical question today, isn't it? Our sources have some strong opinions here. One is about the potential destructiveness of mainstream media. The advice: seriously consider just turning off the news. The idea is to reduce the constant feed of fear and distraction. That frees up your mental bandwidth, your life energy, to focus on your own growth, your own proactive creation, instead of reacting to negativity. Then there's the immense value of mentors and coaching groups. Some call it the mastermind principle, surrounding yourself with supportive, like-minded people who hold you accountable, share insights, and accelerate your learning. It can really supercharge your progress. But, and this is important, always maintain critical thinking. The advice is always double-check what they've told you, even if it comes from a respected mentor. Filter everything through your own judgment. Ultimately, this continuous development builds confidence. And confidence, as the saying goes, leads to competence. There's a lovely story about the speaker's wife. She had this idea for a bubble tea business, starting small, literally in a tent at a local market. But she just kept learning, kept developing her skills, kept building that confidence. And now she's a global consultant for major drink brands. It shows that step-by-step progression beautifully. Confidence breeds competence.
That's a fantastic illustration of how that confidence just compounds into real-world results. Okay, so as we start to wrap up this deep dive, let's bring it back home. The core message that's really echoed throughout our conversation is this: your real wealth is not just the figures in your bank account, it's your time, your energy, your actual life force. And getting a handle on your psychology, understanding those unconscious programs, those limiting beliefs we talked about, that's the bedrock, that's the foundation for accumulating more of that true wealth. It's clearly an ongoing journey, right? A game with many levels, always learning, always adapting. But it's a game that's incredibly rewarding and ultimately, it seems, completely within your control.
Absolutely. And this leaves us with an important question for you, listening right now. A thought experiment, if you like. Imagine you were told you only had 1 year left to live. What actions would you take, starting today, right now, to secure your family's future, to build the life you genuinely desire, free from all those self-imposed limits we discussed? It's a powerful way to cut through the procrastination, the someday maybe. Because, honestly, you don't have the luxury of waiting years and years to figure this out. You really need to get started on this stuff ASAP. And if you're keen to keep exploring this, the sources highly recommend books like Think and Grow Rich, The Science of Getting Rich, maybe The Millionaire Next Door. Classic stuff for a reason. But the key is self-development without shelf-development. Don't just buy the books and let them collect dust. Read them, sure, but then apply the knowledge. Experiment. See what works for you. That's how you transform your life.